It has already started?
Yep.
Or waiting for
Okay,
it to be
we
started?
started.
Okay.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to our live stream today. Today we will share about the new policy for visa 190 and 491 Victoria State. And to be here with me today is Johnny. He is a senior migration counselor with the on-hand skill for dealing with the state nomination application in Victoria. So today, mostly we will go for the new update and new policy, as well as with the new occupation list and the special thing and the big change for the
Victorian state nomination policies.
Okay, so maybe start with you. So can you briefly the general information for the new policy for I think yesterday, right?
Yesterday. And I think all of the potential applicants have been waiting for too long, week by week, since the 1st of July, right? We thought that, in the beginning of July, the new policy should be released due to the fact that, I think the most possible explanation would be the federal government is planning on amending the budget in October. So probably the currently set migration planning level will change, and the quota and allocations will fully increase. And due to that, the allocations from each of the jurisdictions, they have already submitted that to the DHA, but still haven't got finalized yet until now. Now, for every jurisdiction in every single state, they have already got their allocation sorted, right? But that's the first point I want to mention. That's only for the interim period. The interim period is, which means before the actual budget is amended and finalized. If not in October, then in November. And during this period, so that's actually a good news. So this is the first point I want to deliver today, which is the point is that the allocation for this financial year will be largely increased compared to the last financial year, because for the interim period allocation, which means from now until November, as I've mentioned, has already been increased. Has already kind of like equivalent to the whole quota and allocation, in the last financial year. So for Victoria, I think 190 now for the interim period itself, the allocation for 190 is 3,500. I think that is definitely a good news for everyone, for every single applicant. So that's the first point. That's the first update. The second one is that due to the largely increased quota, like Lynn has mentioned previously, the skilled occupation list, now you can say they still have it, but is largely expanded as well. Because now, as long as your occupation, your nominated occupation, is on the general skilled occupation list, and your occupation can apply for 190 or 491, you will be eligible. Which means previously, for the last financial year, you have to have a STEM qualification, right? And you have to be working in the target sectors. Now it's no longer the case. As long as you have a nominated occupation that can apply for both of the visas, you will have a chance to apply. Not guaranteed, okay, I will really emphasize, not guaranteed that you can be invited, but at least you have a chance to apply. So that's definitely a good news. So that's the second point I want to deliver. So the third one is about the work experience, right? You may want to ask, like for the, if I'm unsure, right? So by the way, all the applications will also be open to, for application, the program is open to offshore applicants as well, right? But for onshore applicants, you have to have a job in Victoria, right? So does that job need to be relevant to your nominated occupation? No.
Yes.
For 190, as long as that can be categorized as NSCO level from level 1 to level 3, which covers quite a few, like a lot occupations. As long as you can be categorized as a occupation in that range, so you would have a chance to, not your nominated occupation, your work experience, right? So you would be able to apply. So I will give you an example if that is not very obvious. So if you are a accountant student, right, and after graduation you have obtained your accountant skills assessment, and now you're working as probably a retail manager, right? So now you would have a chance. Previously you could not, but now you can apply. Okay. So that's another point. So let me see what else. Yeah, and also for this year, the selection criteria is more clear. Okay, so previously for the last financial year, we can see it's very ambiguous, right? So you have to have a STEM qualification. Now the requirement is lifted, right? And you have to have a work experience in the tech sectors. Now is no longer the case. But many people will say, so especially for the people who satisfy the requirements set in the last financial year, and moving to this financial year, they will see that probably I'm a bit disadvantaged. So previously, because there are more competitors, right, in this program, I would say no, because you will still be prioritized. Okay, you will still be prioritized, even though there are many more competitors now in the pool. So more and more people would be eligible to lodge the application. That does not mean that they can actually receive invitations. And if you still have a STEM-related qualification or skills, at least you can have a STEM-related nominated occupation, okay, and you are working still in the target sectors, you would be in advantage compared to others. Okay, so that's another point I want to mention. So yeah, another thing is, for when it comes to selection criteria, now it's more clearer. Okay, so your age, even though they previously points is very important, right? So now the points still important, but instead of asking you to get more points, they set all these selection criterion that are related to your to the claim of your points, like your age and your English proficiency, right? Your relevant work experience, relevant to your nominated occupation, right? And your partner skill and qualification. So, right? So if your partner if you have a partner, right? Whether you can get your partner to claim 10 points for you, or only 5 points, or even no, right? And another thing I want to mention is that that's very unique, only for Victoria, the only state that put your annual earnings as one of the selection criteria. So obviously they want you to work more, right, to plug the current skill shortage. That's for sure. Okay, but even on that, they still have a limit. They will not exploit you, right? They ask you to for a maximum work hour, still 38 hours per week. And I want to stress this, because you can only, when it comes to ROI application, right? So you will be asked to demonstrate, to put in your annual earnings, how much your annual earnings is, right? And you have to put a figure, and that figure can only for one employment. It's not that the more jobs you have, the better, because the more you will earn, right? But that does not necessarily mean that you will gain competitive advantage over others, because they will only count your highest paying job, right? So only one employment.
Do they count for the extra hour working?
Overtime, no.
No.
So that's very specific. So your basic wages will definitely be counted, right? And the penalties for weekend, public holidays, and work outside of regular hours, okay, will be counted. But overtime will not be counted. Your superannuation will not be counted, okay? And your bonus will not be counted, right? Your other source of income, probably your dividend, if you own your some share of your company, and that dividend share will not be counted.
Oh, okay.
So only your employment salary, put it into a simple form. And sometimes it can be a bit hard for us to determine, especially because we have a lot of nursing students, right? Allowances will not be, nursing clients, allowances will not be counted as well. Like your laundry allowance, right? Like your uniform allowance, all this will not be counted, right? But for casual employees, your casual loading is now, I think, adjusted to be included in your earnings.
Yeah.
And that casual loading will be shown as, an extra pay on your pay slip. So if that is, if you can calculate, because that generally 25%. So if you can, a simple calculation, like if you pay by fortnight, right? So every fortnight you have a certain amount of, based on the work hours you have worked, right? You have a certain casual loading amount as extra, okay? And if that figure can be certain, which is pretty much determined by how much hours you work, can you have a minimum work hour guarantee for your casual job, right? And is your how stably can you work as a casual employee? So that will pretty much determine how much you can earn for casual loading, and that can also be counted. So each applicant and every single individual would have a different situation. So if you have questions, please ask. Right?
So I just have one question related to the working time that you mentioned before. So they are can they apply for the 190 if they are the casual employment, or is compulsory to be the full-time employee?
You don't have to be full-time. Casual will be accepted. So it's pretty much how much you earn, okay, for a single job,
Okay.
for your highest paying job, highest paying employment.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So full-time casual, I got asked quite a lot since yesterday. Once a policy is released, do I have to change my employment from part-time to full-time? If you can, please do so. Okay, if you can, because that will to some extent increase the likelihood for being invited. So I would recommend you to do that. But if you currently have a full-time job, like because you're a graduate, right? You're working as an entry-level professional, so you're not really highly paid, but you find another job that probably higher paid, but probably to some extent not very good for your career development. So I probably would recommend you to stay for the current job. Yeah. So because it's only one selection criterion, you still have many others.
Do we have any minimum of the minimum amount of the salary that they need to get?
No, you haven't said that. Yeah. They haven't set that threshold. We say that there's no threshold. So basically, they welcome all different kinds of applications. So basically, it is what it is now, right? And I don't think they would have the capacity, considering they are still a small team, right, to handle and to process all these applications, the sheer amount of applications. I don't think so. So they will be definitely filtered, right? And so for that, I would say even now you have a better chance, and I would encourage you to apply if you can. If you meet the minimum eligibility requirement, you should apply, right? Don't take me wrong. But don't think that you will get an invitation very soon. Okay, probably that's only theoretically workable, but still many uncertainties. And if you work, and as I mentioned before, if you're a STEM qualification or STEM related application, you have that nominated occupation, and you're working in the tech sectors, right, like health, engineering, right, and advanced manufacturing, and early childhood or secondary teaching, and chef and hospitality, all these related industries, you will be prioritized. Okay.
So you answer another question, because I had one customer, they asked me a question like, I am a software engineer working in health sector. Will I be prioritized? And the answer absolutely yes, right?
Yeah, beg your pardon, sorry.
Yeah. So he's a software engineer working in the health sector.
Civil engineer working in the health sector. How does he do that?
Software engineering.
Software engineer.
Yeah.
If that is a software engineer working in the health sector, now you're still the chance is still high.
It's still high, right?
Yeah. You will definitely be prioritized over other applicants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we will share about the information for the offshore applicants.
Yeah, the offshore applicants now is not very much that I can share. I can tell you they have added another application requirement for you, because you have to get your overseas qualification assessed. They call that overseas qualification unit. So OQU, right? So this will be assessed by the state nomination program. Okay, so if you haven't got that one sorted, or even you using because for the VITA skill assessment, or if you have passed skill assessment, so basically, and by using your overseas qualification, right? So pretty much your overseas qualification should have already been assessed by the skills assessment authorities. But when it comes to a state nomination application, you still have to get your overseas qualification assessed again, right? So for that, I would recommend you to be aware of that, and lodge that application accordingly, because otherwise that can be troublesome if you overlook that. And apart from that, there are basically not too many requirements are there. Okay, so it's pretty much like the state version of 189 skilled independent visa. So everything would be reflected on your EOI application, like your age, your relevant work experience, your English proficiency, right, and your partner's skill level, and all this will be reflected on EOI. And once you have lodged the EOI and select Victoria as the intending state, then pretty much that's all you should do, all you could do at the current stage. Yeah.
So do we have any requirement for the annual income for the offshore applicant?
No. They haven't said anything about that, but you still would have to provide that information, right? But I don't think that is a very because each different country is different.
Yeah.
Right. So for some country, probably that salary is quite considerable. But when it is converted to Australian dollars, that's probably would be
very low.
Yeah, not very much.
Yeah.
But that would still be okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we have some question. Maybe they, when we do the research on the new policy, we will see like they will have to work in the skill level 1, 2, and 3. Maybe many people will not really know what is the skill level 1, 2, and 3, and maybe you can share the way how they can define
how they're defined.
Yeah, occupation is the level 1, 2, or 3.
Okay, so ANSCO is a system that actually it is a I think diversification system that is conducted by ABS, Australian Bureau of Statistics. Right, so they conduct it probably every 5 years, along with the census. And they will define all the skill levels for all the qualifications across Australia and New Zealand. Okay, and for skill level 1, you can see level 1 is the highest level, and then level 2, level 3, all the way down to level 5 and level 6. I think there's still level 7. Cannot really be sure, but yeah, level 1, 2, 3 are 3 highest levels. So for level 1, basically you are managers, okay, and level 2, you're professionals, like you have to complete at least a bachelor's degree to be considered as competent to perform level 2 relevant jobs. And level 3 are relatively lower. I would take engineers as an example. So if you're engineering managers, you will be considered as level 1. And if you're professional engineers, like civil engineer, mechanical engineer, you are level 2. You're at level 2. And if you're engineering technologist still be okay. But if you're engineering technician, you will be categorized as level 3. Okay. But it's basically pretty much how, like what is actually your nominated occupation, and you can just check it online.
Yeah, there's a list provided all in the website.
Yeah, you can check online, and they will definitely show the skill level. ANZCO, ANZ-SCO. Yeah.
So we have another question. Working as a carer in the aged care, which level is that?
Personal carer is level 4, if not level 5. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're working as that, you probably won't be eligible to apply for 190. Yeah. So that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let me see, any more questions? Okay, so if you live in Victoria but work remotely for a company in Sydney, can you still apply for 190? Absolutely not. If you're onshore, you have to work in Victoria. You have to be residing and working in Victoria at the same time to be eligible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will have another question like, does our occupation application means there's no restriction on any occupations?
Well, beg your pardon. So the occupation is, sorry about that. Does occupation application mean there is no restriction on any occupation? Yes. There will be priority. Okay, so the quota that are allocated to different fields or different target sector or different sectors will definitely be different. Okay, so as I've mentioned, there are 5 prioritized. There are 5 priority industries. Let's say that in Victoria: health, okay, and social workers. So that's one, okay, and engineering, and then and engineering and advanced manufacturing, and then information technology and technology, those kind of things, and chef and hospitality. And the last one would be, what's that? The last one is, secondary teaching and childhood care and education. Okay, if you're not categorized, if you do not hold a STEM qualification, and if you're not working in the what I mentioned, all these industries, then simply you will not be prioritized. Okay, which means your chances are lower than those who have met the requirement, right? But that does not necessarily mean that you will not be having a chance. You do not have a good chance, but you still have a chance. If you can demonstrate that you have a very, very high EOI score, okay, your age is competitive, your English proficiency level is superior, okay, and you have extensive relevant work experience from overseas, then you still have a chance.
So we have another question. Like, if you have applied in 2021 and 2022 visa program, do you have to withdraw or just update the annual salary and employer postcode?
Yeah, so simply you will not be able to apply for ROI. So you know the process, right? The process is simply you have to lodge your EOI first. You know what is EOI, right? EOI stands for expression of interest, right? So expression of interest basically is a thing that will generate you a points report. So on the official website, Skill Select, you put all the information, all the points related information in a questionnaire, okay? And then a points report will be generated. So the Department of Home Affairs would know how much points you have, okay, for skilled migration related visa pathways. And then after obtaining that, you will have an application number, and you use that application number to lodge your ROI application, which is your registration of interest application, and that application can only be applied with the State Department. So on the Live in Melbourne official website, okay? And now for the newly updated ROI application, there are not many information on it, not much information on it. So they will ask you to provide your EOI application number, your EOI ID, okay, and your annual earnings, basically. So for all the rest of the information regarding your your personal details, like your nominated occupation, okay, and your English proficiency, all this and that will be included and reflected on your EOI application. But for the new financial year, to answer your question directly, you don't have to withdraw, okay, because your previous ROI has already been automatically withdrawn, has been withdrawn by the State Department, I think. So for the new financial year, you have to lodge a new ROI. But once the situation has changed, okay, as long as it is related to your EOI application, you can always update your EOI once since your initial submission, and that's not a problem. And please bear in mind that changing your EOI, updating your EOI will not affect the validity of your ROI application. Okay, so ROI can be there, and you don't have to change that as long as your annual earnings has changed. So if that happens, you have to withdraw your ROI because ROI application cannot be updated. So you have to withdraw your ROI and reapply. But that is very quick. That once you have withdrawn your EOI, then you cannot. You can reapply immediately.
Okay. And I think you also answered the question like, can I submit one more than ROI, right? So people can keep one ROI and update the EOI score, and then the ROI will be still there.
Yeah,
they don't need to
the State Department will see the changes.
So they don't need to apply more than one, right? And they can or they cannot apply for more than one ROI.
They cannot. They can only launch one ROI application.
Okay, so we will have another one question. Yep. So the next one is, when does the ROI submission start for the current financial year, and when does yes end?
For this fiscal year, financial year. Okay. When does ROI submission start? It starts now. You can launch it now. Yeah. And when does it end? Until May next year, I think. Until May 2023. Yeah. When does the 2-year commitment to live and work in Victoria starts? That commitment starts when you have when your 190 visa is granted. Yeah.
Okay. So they have to stay in Australia for 2 years after the visa granted.
They don't necessarily have to stay in Australia, but if you are in Australia, you have to be in Victoria. Okay. And it's not that you're in the jail, that you have to stay here forever for the entire 2 years. They just ask you to normally live in Victoria. So your residential address has to be in Victoria, and you can travel to interstate, right? And you can travel to overseas. Yeah, as long as your residential address is in Victoria, will be okay. Yeah.
So the next one, does the annual income calculation include the investment income, for example, the stock?
Stocks? No, absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, investment, your capital gains, right? All this will not be included. Only your employment salary.
No, the one is those questions. So as a graduate, should I sign up for a job immediately to earn a salary or spend time to improve my English language skills?
You should go for find a job first, because that's would make you eligible to apply, right? You should get into the pool, because the new financial year there are many more places available, so you should always try your luck. So be in the pool first as soon as possible. And because we have already mentioned as well, your EOI score can be updated anytime during its validity period at 2 years since the initial submission. So you should always, once you can apply for ROI, do that. And during the period before you get invited, you can always update your EOI score once you have obtained more points. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is, does the fact that there are so few requirements for overseas applicants in the financial year means it's even easier than the
onshore? No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
So for me, if you ask me to rank it, I think the one that will be on the top of the list would be the one that onshore, the applicants that onshore and satisfy the requirements for the previous financial year, right? So you have a STEM qualification and you are currently working in one of the target sectors, and your salary is relatively high. Okay, so you will definitely be prioritized, and then probably offshore and in the similar situation. But you cannot be working in Victoria, right? So if you can demonstrate that you have extensive work experience, which means your employability will be higher than others, and if your English proficiency level is superior, which means you can definitely adapt to Victoria and Australia way of employment with no obstacles. Okay, so that would be probably make you as an outstanding applicant. I think that's pretty much what it is. But definitely, people onshore will be, I think, prioritized. Yeah, that's my idea. That's my understanding. Yeah.
So it's more advantage for nursing home when they have the higher payment compared with a regular nurse.
This one is good, but this one is hard. I cannot really tell. Okay, but my idea would be if you're working in a hospital setting, and let's say you work as a graduate nurse, all right? So if that's the case, and I think you should stay, okay? Don't consider changing your job too soon, because that's only one of the considerations, okay? And I don't think the salary will be a major difference. I think that still would be okay. Probably $10,000 difference. That still be okay. Yeah. So you should continue with your employment in the hospital setting, because trust me, if all of these applicants are moving from hospital setting, given the current hospitalization rate is extremely high, and if this policy are forcing all these potential nursing applicants to drop their current job and change to a nursing home setting, trust me, this policy will change.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, so don't even consider.
Yeah.
Hospital setting is still okay.
Yeah. But like, I think that's a really common question for the nurse. Like, they will consider to move to the regional rather than stay in the big city like the Melbourne.
Yeah.
So with the new policy like this, so what do you think about that?
It should be okay. Yeah, because the majority of job opportunities are still being offered in metropolitan area, not in regional area. Okay. Yeah. So if you can find a job in regional area, go there, because if you do that, you will have two options. Okay. You would have 190 and 491 at the same time. But I don't think that should be a common choice. You can still get your 190 sorted in Melbourne. Yeah.
And maybe when we have the policy of another state, we will compare like which state they should stay.
Oh, they should stay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And we have maybe another question. Like, does the occupation need to be highly relevant to the nomination, or can I just have the vocational assessment?
It definitely has to be a full assessment. Vocational assessment will not be good enough, because that is only for 485.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't think you need that anymore. Right. So it has to be a full skill assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think any important thing that you want to note about the?
I want to notify. Yeah. So my suggestion to wrap up. Okay. My suggestion would be, if you meet the eligibility requirement, if you meet the basic eligibility requirement, I would recommend you to launch your application, because you should always try your luck. Okay. And if I'm only saying if, okay, the allocation for the new financial year is really that much, and I think by the end of the financial year, probably you will have lucky. Okay. Yeah. So I would always encourage you to lodge the application. There is no harm doing that. Okay. Yeah. And that would be my takeaway message. And for all the potential applicants who are considering to boost your EOI points first and then apply, I don't recommend you to do that. You should launch your ROI application as soon as possible, and then update your EOI during the process. Okay, so that would be the two takeaway messages I want to let all the audience know. Yeah.
So maybe another question is like, if she is working as an accountant, so your recommendation is that she should apply for the 190 or 491?
Accountant, it depends on whether can you find a job in the regional area, right?
Yeah.
So if you can only find a job in the metropolitan area, I won't recommend you to take that. I would double check for you. I'm right in front of the computer. Let me double check, because the policy is too new.
Yeah.
Let me check whether there would be whether they require you to work in regional area for applying for 491. Yep, you have to be living and working in regional Victoria. So you, as an accountant, if you can find a job in regional area,
and
can go.
no minimum time that they have to stay to apply the state nomination for the 491.
No. There is no time requirement.
Yeah. So I think the new policy is like the big change for every occupations. Like now
there is a big change,
Yeah.
but still it's like, the only reason for them to do that, I think that's the reason why it takes so long, why it took so long for them to finalize the interim policy, because they have too many places. Once the labor is now in government, and they probably just want to increase allocation and to plug the skill shortage, and that's understandable. But I think if you it has changed a lot, okay, but for people, as I've emphasized many times, if you have a STEM qualification, and if you still working in one of the target sectors that we have mentioned, you will be prioritized. Okay, so that's the thing.
So the applicant who's in the priority sector is still have confidence to continue with their application.
So don't consider moving to another state. Too many applications moving in, should we consider going to another state? No. Okay, you will be you will get your invitation, I think, even if not quicker, then definitely not slower than the last financial year.
Okay. So maybe we will wait for policy of another state, and we will compare like what is the advantage and what is the weakness for each policy.
Okay.
So maybe the live stream today will finish, and because I think that we share pretty much information about the new policy, and we will keep updating it and do another live stream where we have more information and like deeply analysis about this policy.
No worries.
And feel free to ask us any question if you have any concerns about the new policy. And thank you for watching.
Feel free to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.